Pulling Out has a number of amazing reports that help you get to the bottom of your data that we keep for you to see when people are available. And today we're going to focus on a really important report called the Weekly Timeline Report. Now, this report is really great for two wonderful purposes. First, it allows you to, like our other timeline report, visually see how Simple and Out counts total time. And that's important when you're running your numbers and you're trying to understand why Simple and Out comes up with the numbers that it does. The second thing that weekly timeline reports are great is for taking one individual user and looking at them over a period of several days, back to back to back, to be able to see how time flows for a person over a longer period than just a day. We have a different report on our daily timeline video. That's great for looking at a lot of users over a given day. This report here is always going to be run for a single user over the course of many days in a row. So let's take a look at some options first. First options, we have our date ranges. By default, this is always going to default itself to the last full week, but you could change this and run this over several different weeks if you choose. I'm just going to leave this and say we'll run it over last week. The second thing you're going to be asked for is which user to run this for. By default, this is always going to default to yourself, but if you have sufficient privileges, you can change this to a different user. In this case, I'm just going to run this for Sarah Smith right now and click run. So really, it's that simple to start with. And as you can see, what this does is visually indicates a user's availability. I could hover over these little points to see the user was in at 8:01, was on break at 12:11, was in again at 1:16, and was out for the day at 4:48. And this works out well to see, and then the total time of 7 hours and 42 minutes in. We also have at the bottom of the report a grand total over the entire period. In this case, 39 hours and 59 minutes, just 1 minute shy of 40 hours for the week. And so this works out pretty swell. Now, if I have sufficient privileges, I could also click on these to edit past time. Now, why I really love the weekly activity or the weekly timeline report is that you can use it to edit the past if you have privileges, especially helpful if you're using Simple and Out for payroll purposes. So I'm going to change from Sarah Smith to a different user. In this case, I'm going to pick on Anthony. And let's run the report for Anthony. Now you can see when I run the report for Anthony, his grand total time at the bottom is 55 hours. Anthony probably was not working 55 hours. So the weekly timeline report is the perfect report to run to go, why did Simple and Out think 55 hours was how long Anthony was in for? And we can see right here, the reason why is because Anthony was in at 1:21 p.m. this day and never, ever checked out. Anthony never checked out, probably forgot, something probably happened. And then we can see the next morning, checks in again at 7:43. But of course, Simple and Out thinks the user was in all night because the user never checked out. So we can correct the record by clicking on the day in question. We can see these are the status updates Anthony made. So let's go ahead and add an out. Let's assume that Anthony left maybe at 5:30 for the day. So we'll say 5:30 out. And we can leave a comment behind if we want, but in this case, I'll just add the status. All right, there we go. So now if I go ahead and click back over here, and I just click to run the report again, now we'll see things look a lot more normal, right? 40 hours for the week, a little over 40 hours for the week, and the days look great. So this is what makes the weekly timeline report so powerful, is the ability to be able to see that day over day and to be able to correct the record. Now, finally, let's take a look at a few advanced options that we have by clicking on advanced options here. The first one we have is total lease statuses. By default, Simple and Out will run this report, and it will indicate a user is available if they were in the status of in or remote or busy. But of course, I could change this if I wish. So for example, if I want to see break time included, I can include that. If I hit run, we'll see a lot of these break times are now included. Likewise, only these comments are considered. So I could go ahead and if I'm trying to zero in on a particular thing, a particular item that Anthony might have been doing or a comment he left behind, I can use this to zero in on such a thing. So for example, if I click on this here, I can see he was out to lunch. If I wanted to just zero in on the word lunch, I could go ahead and run that report. You'll note that the charts stay the same, but you'll note that we're only now totaling times where the comment had the word lunch inside. In this case, lunch for an hour and a minute again here later in the week. And then finally, we have a time zone option, which allows you to run these reports in a different time zone, which is great if you're traveling and you want to run the report in the time zone that you're used to seeing. By default, this will always choose the time zone that you are currently in. So this is the weekly timeline report, one of our most popular reports because it's great for being able to correct the record of total time.